Hey there, folks, it's Toasty Fresh once again, and I thought this time I'd come at you with a discussion video or topical video, and I'll be covering the topic of films, movies that would make good basis for a video game, or at the very least, would give some good ideas of a video game to make from them. So this is just basically off the top of my head. I thought about this idea a little bit ago and then I forgot about it and started doing other things. And I'll just come back to it now, and I just thought of a few things off the top of my head, so it might not be the best list I could have made up. But that's hopefully where you guys come in. You'll join the discussion and you'll hopefully do a way better job than what I'm about to do. Anyway, just off the top of my head, and I was also trying to think of games that haven't been too heavily done before as well. And the first one I came up with was The Highlander, starring a certain Christopher Lambert. But I thought this would be an okay idea of a game. I know there was a game in about the Spectrum era, I think it was, which was absolutely terrible, of all accounts, after looking it up. And there was plans for them to make a game on it, but it was kind of shelved. Now become like a great cult film that people still watch and things like that, and it's got a good little story to it and a lore going into that goes along with it. And I thought it would be a great little idea for a game. And I mean, I don't know whether you do it from Connor McLeod's story. I thought that could be an alright idea. Say like you do experiences from his life where you go to different eras, things like that. You know, go back to Scotland from his roots, and then see what adventures he got on up until the 80s when he was in America. That could be an alright idea, or maybe a different character who happens to be immortal, just do a whole new character and have a kind of adventure type game, but with a heavy flavour of swordplay, and make it a nice deep combat system, you know, where you get a lot of moves, and have a really well done system where it's not just you hacking and slashing and blocking, you know, you have parries and all that lot, and put a bit of strategy into your fighting as well. And obviously you're going to have some strategy of a way to kill the other immortals with you having to behead them. So you're going to have to make some kind of a way to do moves that lead up to you being able to decapitate those enemies and things like that. And I thought that could be a nice idea of a game to make, as I was thinking. And it's not really a film franchise that's been heavily tapped into, really, as a game idea. Another game that I thought of, and I don't really know, I haven't researched into it whether there has been another game. I can't remember, certainly myself. Obviously, it's heavily influenced a lot of films and a lot of games as well, and that's Blade Runner. But I don't think there's been an actual direct game of the film. I'm not too sure. There might have been though. I mean, it was made in '82, so the software wouldn't have been brilliant at that time. But I thought this could be maybe not of the actual film, because a lot of people have seen it, you know what's going to happen, but maybe do another character again, a whole new character, but on the same kind of basis as you've been ordered to hunt down replicants. And I'd see this kind of game as LA Noire, but a sci-fi, this great, wonderful, dystopian, crumbling sci-fi environment. I think it'd make a wonderful backdrop for that, and just you're looking for clues and you're having to hunt down and make it a very, you know, an investigation part of the game, exactly like LA Noire, but in a whole new setting. And then have a gradual build up to your confrontation when you finally hunt down the replicant that you're hunting at the moment. And also, I think it'd be good morally, kind of similar to Shadow of the Colossus, where it's kind of would you feel entire, you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable with, killing these people, well, replicants or things, just like in Shadow of the Colossus, where you're killing those great beasts, and you start to feel kind of bad about doing it. I thought that's kind of a thing that could come into this, a moral question of, should I really be doing this? Should I really just be following orders blindly? So I thought that'd be a great idea of a game as well. And another game, a film that I thought of that'd be great, and that is The Thing. And now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, there's already been a game done of it, which I'm well aware of. I'm well aware that there is a game, this one, which I had. I had it for the PlayStation 2, and then later, now, I've got it for the Xbox. But I was thinking this, I think, would be a really good game to make use of today's technology and graphical grunt and processing power and stuff like that. Not necessarily to have perfect graphics, but better graphics, because this would be a really good atmospheric game that put in a real sense of foreboding and isolation if they set it in a similar setting, and just a really good game that I think could crank up the paranoia if you're trapped in a building complex with a group of people and you don't know who is going to turn into some horrific monstrosity that is going to chow down on your ass and turn you into one of those things as well. I think that'd be a really good idea, and more have the choices weigh heavily on you. Who do you trust? Who do you turn your back on? Who do you give weapons to? Who do you allow to go along with who? Because if you send some characters with another character who ends up being a thing, you're basically signing their death warrant or putting them in a really bad situation. But I think a big thing with that game would be you'd have to do a setting in period where you establish things and you established characters and had some real personalities in there and a real characters, so that you actually felt something for some of the characters and that you were sad to see them go, or give you some kind of dislike to certain characters, but then you sort of feel sympathy for them afterwards. Things like that. You'd have real relationship kind of things building up and real feelings towards some of these characters, not just random characters and they turn into monsters and it doesn't really affect you. That's the kind of thing. I thought the first game was okay, but it wasn't fully what you could have done with the idea and what that film brought to the table in regards to a game. And I'd like to see him fully implement what could be done, like facial expressions, things like that. You'd keeping an eye on body language and things like that, and subtle signs to see whether somebody has been infected or not. It'd be an interesting thing with that game. I think that'd be an idea that shouldn't be dropped at just one game. I think another game properly done would be a really nice idea. Another one, which again I know it has been a game, is Fight Club. And I know it has been a game. I haven't really played it. My brother did have it, I think, but I never ended up looking at it. And that was a straight fighting game. And a little bit of an interesting idea of you could see the X-ray kind of shots when you broke someone's bones. But to be honest, I'd see this as a whole bigger game. After reading I've read the story to this and watched the film. And to be honest, the fighting I could see as just one part of the game, have that as a hub, but it'd also be a brilliant idea of you running the Project Mayhem or becoming a part of that Project Mayhem and going out into cities or different cities and causing anarchy and helping along in this kind of anarchic movement that the character Tyler Durden was trying to get at in the film and the game. I think that'd be a lot more interesting than just a plain old fighter like they did, especially when it wasn't the best fighting game ever made. But I think it could have been a really good idea of a film, to go around trying to bring down that kind of system like they were doing and return everyone to a kind of basic life. I think that'd be a really good idea, and like the first mission could be like in the film. You got to try starting a fight with somebody. That'd be really interesting, and maybe then have stuff that follows on after the film ends as well. You could have the beginning bit of the game is you're leading up to the events of the film, and then it goes on from there. And what else is he gonna do? Or what else happens after that? Maybe not him himself, but other people carry on the project. And another film that I'd love to see done is Hellraiser, and I know Clive Barker has worked on other games such as Undying, amongst others, but I'd really love to see a Hellraiser game, a really well done Hellraiser game, because there's been a lot of horror games about at the minute, and a lot of them, like they've done. And I was going to do for this video Dawn of the Dead, but I know there's been a hell of a lot of zombie games at the minute, so we're kind of at saturation point, and we've kind of had our fill of zombies at the minute with films and things like that. I'd really love to see a well done zombie game where you actually have characters that you felt about. I mean, I know The Last of Us kind of did that, but kind of more on the setting of, say, the State of Decay, but with characters that you could actually feel something about. I looked at the State of Decay and I didn't really feel anything for the characters, so that bit kind of fell flat. Anyway, moving back on, because I'm moving on to a different tangent here, but Hellraiser, I'd see that as a really good idea, as on a good opportunity to make a game of. I mean, you could do it with different scenarios, different people, maybe, that have had the box and had possession of the puzzle box and things like that, but just the whole, you could have a lot of levels in hell when they get taken to hell, or you see it as hell, it might not be, or just the dimension that the Xenobarts live in or reside in, and that'd be, a brilliant basis and feel for a game, and I think it'd make a really good atmospheric, scary game, but without using zombies or other things that have already been used in games recently. I think that'd be a good idea for a game myself. And another one, which is not really as much of a well-known film, and that is Cube. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen it. It's kind of like where these people get dropped in this big complex that is called a cube, and it's constantly moving and things like that. And they go through all these little rooms, and they're all booby trapped and stuff like that, and they've got to basically survive and find a way of getting out. And all the rooms are booby trapped. And I thought that'd be a good idea for a game as well, where you're having to tread very carefully and slowly and really think your way around rooms and things like that. And I thought about that, kind of either that or the feel of some other films like that, like The Collector, where he sets booby traps in that house in the first film of the series. But that kind of thing, sort of along the lines of Saw. I know Saw's already been done, but that kind of thing, but more in, we saw it's one challenge. This, you've got a series of challenges to get through. I mean, Saw has kind of done that, so this was just one that I kind of added on there. But again, I thought that'd be an interesting idea of a game to make as well. And finally, just off the top of my head, I thought The Running Man, just for a bit of a change of pace. And I suppose there is a game that took a lot of influence, I think, from that, and that was Smash TV. But that was kind of very arcadey. But this, I think, in two parts, it'd make a great game. If you made it more as in heavily influenced by the film, you'd have a great idea of a game. Different sectors, and you've got to get through them unharmed, either by avoiding the hunters, or in the flip side, finding a way to kill them and earning more points, obviously more bonus points if you kill them, and have a thing with ratings, something like that, like a little rating thing with whatever antics that you're getting up to. But also on the other side, if anybody's ever read the book is vastly different from the film. It was a Stephen King book, and in that you're on sort of an cross-country run away from the hunters, and the hunters were kind of just like agents basically, or your SWAT team, or like FBI agents, and they was kind of hunting you down, but they only worked for the TV company, and you had to get as far away as you can and last for as long as you can. There's like a set amount of time, I forgot what it was, they had to survive till, and if they survived till after that time, they won. It was like $1 million or $1 billion or something like that. And I thought that'd be a really good idea for a game where you're having to travel around in some city environments and evade capture. And I suppose it'd only really be possible for the book version, for it to be done on this sort of generation where you could have larger world maps and have different areas to travel to and things like that. And that'd be a really open kind of a game where you could decide what to do. How long do you hold up in little safe houses and things like that? Do you go and get yourself, you'd have to go and get yourself disguises, keep changing your appearance, keep a low profile, be careful who you trust and who's going to help you out, because people will rat you out for the reward that they get for handing you in. So I think the book version has a really interesting idea for a game in that regards, where you're a fugitive. And again, the film side has an interesting aspect where you're involved in a sort of game show and you're having to fight for your life, but you're going through different sectors and things like that, and that'd be more of an arcadey, maybe kind of more of an action kind of game, or one where you can deal mayhem and things like that, whereas the other one would be more of a be smart, stay hidden, going out causing mayhem is just going to get you a quick death basically. You'd have to be a lot more thoughtful. Anyway, before I make this video too overly long, I just thought that they're the few films that I've just thought off the top of my head that it'd be good ideas. Maybe this video should be called for next gen, or for this generation, what would be good ideas, because possibly Running Man has been done. It sounds like something that could have been done in that kind of era of gaming, maybe, but I'm not too sure. I can't really fully remember seeing a Running Man game, but I could be wrong on that one. There could be one, but I can't really remember it. But that's just kind of some off the top of my head that I've had to think about. And if you guys can think of any that you'd rather see, or you think you've got a better idea, like I said, probably if a few people join in or make contributions to this video, you'll think of a lot better ideas than me. Probably myself, if I sat down and thought about it and looked through a few films, jog my memory, I'd probably think of a lot better. I'd probably think of some other great films that I could put in to this as well. But yeah, that's all I got time for So hopefully you guys will make some great contributions to this and make this a really good video and great discussion. Thanks for anyone who does decide to leave some input or some feedback and your own views. Thank you very much for that. It'd be great to hear that and to get your feedback. But that's all I got time for. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next time.